Rebellious Studio presents the Mind Body Podcast with your host, Maria Angelova. Welcome to the Mind Body Podcast, your rebellious podcast with me, your host, Maria, where it is all about a strong body, calm mind, healing, and fully living. I have with me today my dear friend, colleague, partner in crime, so to say, Jeremy Finger from Myrtle Beach, joining me from Myrtle Beach. How are you, Jeremy?
Doing great, Maria. Doing great. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so excited. Jeremy and I go back, 20 years, maybe more?
That's right. We do.
Yeah, we know each other from single days, party days. We were just talking how those party days have gotten a lot shorter and bedtime has become a little bit earlier.
That's right. My goals for going out are now my punishment for going out would be, hey, you need to be home at 9. That's punishment. Now it's like my goal. I want to be home at 9.
Yeah. You know what? For my just had recently my birthday, and a friend from my old party, they said, "Where's the party?" And I said, "People still party at our age."
Yeah, that's right. Maybe a party over breakfast. That's right. It's like
right. Well, let's have brunch.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, I am excited to have you here, Jeremy, because both of us have kind of taken similar paths in terms of transitioning from the corporate world, actually the finance world, into entrepreneurship. And actually, that's one of my favorite topics to talk to, because I think there is so much more that goes into an entrepreneurship than just building a business. But before we get into that, let me not get too far ahead. Let's hear 3 words that tell us who Jeremy is and a little bit of a backstory behind each one.
Sure. I would say open, honest, and truthful.
Okay.
That's what I would say. Now, as far as backstory on those things, I guess I was always taught to be open and honest about things. Unfortunately, there was a time in my life where, when I would do that and people would give me their opinion on things, it would hurt my feelings, and I'd blame them and blame me. And, that would take in a darker direction. But, through a lot of work, I found that being more true to myself and my own vision, you attract people in your life that are supposed to be there. And the other people who are not supposed to be there won't be there. So, and that's okay too, right? So,
yeah, I think I can so much relate to that, especially going back to the topic of switching from corporate to entrepreneurship. I heard so much feedback on this doesn't make sense. This is not a good idea. You don't have a good plan and all of that. And like for me, I was already so scared of taking such a big step. I really didn't need to hear those words that were just feeding my fears, right? I needed to hear like, you've got this, you can do this, keep going. I needed somebody to pump me up. And I think you're so right that as we grow as humans and develop, we start repelling some energies and attracting other energies. And I think that's just part of growth. I think your tribe changes, the people around you change, the energy around you changes as you start, I would say, stepping out of your comfort zone.
That's right. And there is absolutely some uncertainty. And the thing is knowing that you're going to be uncertain, but knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what. So like, I remember when you did what you did, right? And I got some of it, in my mind. But stepping out on doing it myself, all right, I had to make peace with certain things. Mm-hmm. So like, hey, if my income goes from X to X minus, I've got to be okay with that, right? Like really be okay. And then what is, I had a conversation with a guy, before I made this move. And he says, what would you get on the other side? And I said, freedom. And he said, and I was talking about the financials and stuff. He says, what's freedom worth to you? And I said, priceless. And he says, well, why are you doing the math? Listen.
Why are you doing the math?
Why are you doing the math? It's like you move, you go. Now, and the thing is, nothing I have ever done, ever done, has gone according to plan. Nothing. It's
Life
just,
has a way of teaching us lessons, I have to
no, yeah. And you know what, really where the lessons are is where the pain is.
say. That's why we learn.
That's right. But also addressing it. So
Well, yeah.
addressing the pain, yeah, is like, hey, am I being really honest about this thing? Where are my weaknesses, and where am I not being truthful or honest and open with myself? And I didn't know what really that was about until, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And before I made this journey, I knew in my mind, I could repeat back quotes and philosophy and stuff like that, but I didn't know it in my heart. And that was and I had no idea how to get it from my heart, but until I was able to face the pain, and really end that uncomfortability, that uncomfortableness, you know, and that's not easy. But I also knew that living my life inauthentically was also miserable. So I had to pick my poison, a temporary pain that I can work through and be more at peace, or continue to live I'm gonna say it in a dramatic way, a hollow existence, and to grind out and the clock before I check out, hopefully, 80 years on earth and all that. So,
As you're speaking and as you're noting the word pain, I so frequently relate Pilates and movements to life. And especially the way I teach, a lot of my clients come because of pain. And I always tell them that pain is there for a purpose. Now, what do most people do when they experience pain, right?
try to avoid it.
Moving, they pop a pill, right? But they don't address the cause of the pain.
100%.
If you address the cause of the pain, things don't really change. And if you keep living the same way, long term, with your body deteriorates, right? In the case of physical health. But the same is so true with our mental state, our emotional state, right? If you're experiencing pain because the results you're seeing are not what you want them to be, what's the belief that's holding you back? What's the belief that's the cause of your experience? And how do you address that, right? Do you stay with it because then things are not going to change? Or do you choose to get uncomfortable because sometimes you're aware what needs to change and you're like, that sounds scary. And it's a choice whether you're going to make a change or not.
Yeah, it's some people, like, and I say some people, I do this too, to an extent, is try to numb out the pain or block it or avoid it. Hey, let's don't exercise or don't go to Pilates because it hurts, right? But not knowing that when I get through that pain, there's going to be so much growth on the other side of it. Not just physically, mentally too. Hey, I got through that tough thing. So when we were talking about this earlier, I say I got 100 emails. I can get through that too. All right. I mean, there's a mental strength to dealing with pain and a confidence that can kind of come with that. Now, that confidence can also be not beating the world to form what I want it to be. It can also be, hey, the strength to look within. Am I really do I need that to be the case? Being okay with what the world gives me, or and trying to do the best we can with what I got, which ironically, when I do that, my results tend to be astronomically better. Yeah. If that makes sense.
To me, it totally does, because I would tell you, I mean, you know, me personality wise, and I'm that person that, like, when I want something, it needs to be done the way I want it and how I want it. And when I jumped into entrepreneurship, it was a very rough awakening.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going there. Like, why are we going here? And like you said, there is the financial state. There is, like, the supporting your family. Like, you're freaking out. Like, what's happening? And you have to let go, and you have to surrender, and you have to be like, all right, let's go this way. Let's see what's here. But there is a lot of discomfort in letting go and trusting that we'll figure this out. But exactly like you said, the more you trust your intuition and listen, the smoother the journey becomes. There's still lessons, right? But
That's
there's
right.
power in that surrender and following the way things unfold.
That's right. And oftentimes, now I'm gonna kind of make my observation of you. All right.
All right. I
When
look
you
forward to it.
when you said you were doing what you're doing, I'm like, that's gonna be tough. I'm like, there's no question. Now, but you're a hard worker. I mean, no doubt about it. Okay. Um, and but yeah, you like to double check your I's and T's and everything. And I'm like, man, the variability that's gonna happen is gonna be, I don't know how you're gonna handle that. But after you got in it, like, and you're talking about letting go, and I'm like, damn, she can let go. Anybody can.
Now, how should I take that, Jeremy?
what I can okay, so how you should take that really is like, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. You really like lived that change, right? Which
I
is
really did.
no question you did. 100% no question. And so like there was a conversation that we had that was not long after you started. And I'm like, damn, this is way different than what I thought, it was like you grew spiritually and emotionally and a lot of things. And I say that because at the time I really wasn't there. But now that
the exact conversation you're talking about, you were either about to quit your job or you had just quit. It was somewhere around that time. Right?
Yeah, that's 100% the case.
We're having that conversation, and I was like, just jump. I was like, just go for it, or something like that. And you were like, you're saying that? Like, you were so surprised. I remember that conversation.
Yeah, it was a beautiful conversation. And the guy I was talking to previous is like, when he was talking about what's the price of freedom? What price of freedom? He's like, I've never seen someone follow their heart like that and fail. Now the failure, let's say my income was lower or whatever the case may be, or whatever bogey I was trying to hit. If I have more peace in my heart, the race is won. I mean, that's it. Am I going to be a better dad? Yeah. I'm going to be a better husband? Absolutely. Am I going to be a better tipper at Starbucks? Yeah. Or handle the someone cut me off in traffic? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Is when we live, when our career and our work and our life is all incongruent, very congruent. I'm not different. I'm living very authentically. There is a lot of truth and peace that come with that. And then we have the ability to say no to things that just don't align, and I say confidence. Confidence is all like the inner peace to know that that's not for me. Yeah. And I'll tell you, Maria, can I say this? That's the shit, by the way. That's unbelievable to have that.
It's powerful when you can say no. And you know what's so interesting? I have gotten to the point where I know who are the clients I want to work with. And some clients are just not for me, because I want clients who are dedicated, who are into this, who want to learn this, who want to grow, who want to change their bodies. And my teaching approach is not conventional. You got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to feel your little pinky toe before you can do the big exercise, right? So when you get a type A personality that's ready to push, and you're like, so now we're going to learn how to breathe. And there's blinkings, right? So when I meet with clients, I'm like, let's set up expectations and make sure this is right for you, because you will be challenged in a very different way, right?
Yeah. Patience.
Yeah. And,
patience.
You will be taught to not push, but to flow. Now tell that to, and I can so relate to that, because that was me, right? To a type A who is there, who needs to get her calories and the heart rate and needs to be in the heart zone, and you've got the clock ticking, I don't have time for this. And now you're like, we are going to breathe and we're going to learn how to flow. And no, you're only going to come off this much of the floor because that's how much you can do properly. It challenges you mentally, right?
Yeah.
Humbles you. And then we take those same lessons and we say, so let's apply that to life, right? And you start, people like, like they start getting intrigued, like, what? Like, what? And over time, you see how they start changing their approach to fitness. Like, they know, they'll be like, so I knew you're going to ask me how my body feels. So let me tell you, I didn't sleep well, or I slept crooked. And it's like, that was not the case before. And you see the change in them, and you see how they start experiencing life differently. And it's a beautiful thing.
Very, very much.
Comfort, right?
Yeah.
And to the peace part that you brought up, I'm so glad you brought it. So you were talking about congruence, which is alignment within yourself, right? When you're authentic, your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual state are all in alignment with who you really are, not with who you're told you should be. And the other thing, Jeremy, you brought up is success and our definition of success. And we have developed such a standard definition of success, right? I was having this conversation with my husband, and I don't know what I said or what he said. And he said, "You're not successful." And I was like, "What?" And I said, "Well, what's your definition of success?" He said, "Well, you need to make $1 million to be successful." And I said, who? Who said that's your definition, right? And that's, I don't know, he has created that definition of success. And I said, let me ask you something. When you get up, do you get excited by the day, like the stuff you're going to do, the people that you're going to work with? And he goes, not really. And I said, well, to me, that's success. When I'm excited about what I'm going to do, I feel fulfilled, passionate, I get to live life the way I want to. Maybe it's right for me, maybe it's not right for you, but that's okay. That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, the thing is, like, using that, thinking about that, right? When you're able to get up and live like Warren Buffett, he's like 90 years old, a bit multiple billionaire, right? But he says, I tap dance to work. I just enjoy it. Right. And then you tap dance to work in your way. Mm-hmm. And that if you're living a life that you never want to get away from, then you're almost always ironically retired, but still getting paid to do so. And so it's like, hey, I want to create a life that I don't want to leave, and be okay with that.
Different experience. I mean, so that's why when we talk about financial, no question, and I mean, you do finance, right?
Right.
Like, and like my husband, sometimes he's like, man, what happened to you? Like, you're a finance major, because, like, I am like, if I believe in something, I will make the investment, even though you might look from the side and be like, holy cow. But I'm like, I believe that feels right. That feels right. It feels aligned. My intuition is telling me this is good. Go for it. And it becomes this exhilarating journey of growth. And it's this business growth, but personal growth.
The other thing with that too is that, and we talked about this before we got started, is that not all the decisions are gonna be successful. But it doesn't mean that it was a bad decision. Mm-hmm. I think it was one inventor, talked about making a light bulb. He's like, did 5,000 different Edison did 5,000 different filaments materials, and all of them were not successful. And someone says, that's a failure. He says, no, I successfully eliminated 5,000 things that didn't work so that I can get to the next one. And so being like, when you make a decision, that's fine. It's okay to, I'm going to use the air quotes, fail. Although I don't see that as failure.
There are no failures. I said, there is only a lesson.
That's exactly right. I was like, okay, this is not the path, and you go this way. I have seen somebody, I kid you not. I'm not kidding here. I'm not going to disclose names, but he went from a negative net worth 20 years ago to worth well over 20 million. And I've seen him start things that fail, start things that fail, then one succeeded, and he moves. And so I've seen him, what he says, he calls that falling forward. When I fail, I want to fall forward so that I can keep making some progress. But what I did in many years of my life was I'd be sitting on the sidelines waiting for everything to line up perfectly so that I know precisely the outcome. And it doesn't work that way. Nothing works that way.
It doesn't, because you know what, even when you try to make it work a certain way, it may work out in a very different way. And it's important to remember that the way it works out is just right for whatever reason. You gotta take that lesson and keep moving, like you said, keep moving forward, keep failing forward, right? One step, moving forward. So yeah. Love it, love it. Well, Jeremy, what is your definition of rebellious?
I wish it wasn't this way. I mean, but being a rebel is almost being authentic. You know, I wish it was more common. I see, you know, people say that they don't live, you know, they get up and going through the grind. Which I don't feel that way. Yeah, there some things that I'm aggravated about. I mean, you can't see my desk, but it's a little dirty. I cleaned up. Maria, me and real honest, there's a lot of stuff on the floor right before we started this podcast. Okay, you know, but it's, nothing's like that's okay. But being rebellious is actually, hey, what do I really want? And do I want it authentically, not so I can show somebody outside of me, but no, it's true in my heart. And it took me a lot of work to get to know what that is. I had to go through and fight some demons and really think back to why I was blaming the world and other people for some stuff. I had to deal with that. But once I cleaned that up, then it became clear. The fog lifted to where, okay, hey, I want to live this way. And I, you know, say, what would I do in the dark? Like if no one was around and no one saw. That's really what was true to me. And so that's rebellious. Like, hey, everybody can do whatever the heck they want to do. Chase the $1 million, whatever. All right, great. And okay. And I've seen many, many multimillionaires, you know, be miserable. And I've seen people broke as hell, you know, just with peace in their heart and all that. And I know which one I'd choose. The thing is, you can still have the $1 million and have peace in your heart.
And that's okay? What we, right? That's the option.
That's right. I mean, it doesn't mean that one negates the other. And so I think that the process of having peace in your heart, there is for me, it's like I need on a regular basis to check in with that and I read philosophy books. You know, I listen to podcasts. I mean, I'm on a podcast right now. We're talking about this type of stuff. Yeah. This is therapeutic as well. So because when you were sending me questions and topics and things, you know, I had to like go in and think about that and really check in. Now, when I do that, it's almost like a GPS. Like, am I living in alignment on the road here on the, I'm going to use my words, spiritual path in alignment with me? Or if am I deviating to try to show off for something else, you see? And the more I can kind of keep back on that path, the better off I am. And those lessons can happen at any moment, whether I catch 5 red lights in a row, maybe teach me patience. Someone cuts me off, teach me forgiveness. My wife says something to me that could teach me forgiveness too.
You ever have that too?
Hey, for those who don't know, my wife was Maria's roommate. Okay, that's how we met. So
she's one of my best friends. She's also Bulgarian. So Jeremy has definitely had to go through growth because he's married to a Bulgarian woman.
That's right. And she certainly had to do as well to deal with me.
Yes. Jeremy, this is awesome. We can keep talking. And, you know, you're making such an important topic that, you know, one doesn't negate the other. Like happiness and money doesn't mean they cannot go together. But 100%. I think it's so important when you're going after growth that once again, it goes back to that alignment, right? Does this feel right? Or is because the other person is doing this, now I'm doing this to replicate and copy them because I see they're moving forward, because that usually doesn't work. And I had a client last week. We were talking about something, he was sharing a project and you could tell he was not feeling excited about the project. So I asked him, I said, does this feel in alignment with you? And he said, no. So I said, so what's holding your attention? And he said, the money, right?
Yeah.
So now we're seeing misalignment with, and my body's feeling that red flag, right? And your body will give you signs, like going back to the physical, right? You might feel tension, you might get that, discomfort into your belly, whatever it is. He was feeling it, but he was torn between, like, what do I do? And that's when the choice comes in place, right? The power of choice. What do you decide to do?
Yeah. The beautiful part about that is that he saw it.
Yeah.
You asked the question and he saw it.
Yeah.
Many people, and myself included, especially prior to me really making a change, is didn't know it. We're oblivious to it. Like I'm just trying, hey, a lot of people, drink or whatever the case may be to try to numb out because they don't know what the discomfort's from.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't know that they're off the path.
Mhm.
But he very likely, because of a result of many of the things that you teach and do, knew and recognized that him being this is one of those choices, right?
Yeah. The
And
awareness,
that,
is so key.
that's right. Because but if you're not aware of it, it's hard to address it.
Yeah, you
At
can.
least,
Yeah.
at
Now
least,
you have a choice. To your point, if you're not aware, there's no choice. You just move with what fits into societal's expectations and the way you were taught, right?
that's right. And then you can blame it on the red lights that you're catching or whatever the case may be. But really deep down, it's because you're making these decisions for results or for external reward that will never fulfill you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're in alignment.
Right. That's why, you know what? That's why this work, even though it's a lot of it is physical, I tell people your body will tell you if you're misaligned in any way, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Your body will reflect it in some way, whether it's through pain or, you can't sleep or you have tension headaches or whatever it is, or tension into your upper body or how you slouch. Like your body gives you these messages and you just have to start paying attention to them. It's
That's
powerful.
right. That's right. Yeah.
All right, Jeremy, where can wait? I need a favorite quote or a piece of advice you want to leave for our listeners.
Okay. I thought there's a billion, but I'll choose this too shall pass. So like if a lot of times facing difficulty or facing a task, whether it be in doing Pilates or addressing your finances or having a difficult conversation with a spouse or a coworker, that pain is temporary. Okay. It is. But through the other side of that is a lot of growth facing that. And the, or if you really want to know what you need to work on, what are you scared to talk about? What are you scared to address? That's really where our fear is really a treasure trove of areas where we may need to address. But if we do address them, it will also pass. When we clean up things, they tend to dissipate and no longer have control over us. And so we can live a bit more free.
One of my favorite questions to ask clients is, what do you tolerate? Which kind of goes along with what you just said.
What do I tolerate? I tolerate people being themselves at where they are. I used to think that I need to make the world bend and people to the way that I thought they needed to be. But when I just let them be, let them be wherever they are and forgive them for it. It frees me. Everybody's got their own path. Like if let's say 15 years ago, someone would look at me and probably did, and I was lost in many respects. And that was my way. That was my path. Right. And so I have to, part of my growth is being able to have others be okay as well. But what ends up happening though, is that it's okay to let them go. But again, other people will come into play. and that are more in alignment with who you are. And miracles will happen. There isn't linear growth in this realm. It becomes exponential. You know, you're able to see, like your friend or your client that was able to see this thing. When they're able to see things like that, you can have quantum leaps in growth, where it's not 10% per year or 5% per year. It is, wait a second, I missed a whole other room or realm. And that's really where you can transcend what is expected.
Yeah. Well, because I think once we learn to let go of the things which don't align with us, then we offer the opportunities for things that do align for us to show up, and there's space for them, because cleaning up the mess from things that misalign. And that's the thing for people, opportunities.
All of that. And Maria, it becomes fun. So instead of work becoming work, where it takes motivation, work can become fun. And then if you're enjoying what you do, you'll beat the daggone brains out of someone who's needs motivation for it.
Yeah. You know, yesterday I had a client coming in after 2 other clients were leaving, and she goes, "They look happy." And I was like, "Don't they?" I was like, and them being happy makes me so happy. So I was like, it's contagious. And I was like, now I'm energized to torture you. So I'm like, right? But you're so right. It's like when you're into it, when you're having fun, when you're enjoying it, it's a totally different experience than, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to get up and do the same thing again.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
The freedom and the peace of mind comes into play.
That's right. That's right. And you know, I'll say this. Most of this stuff that we're talking about has been spoken before, right? And even the listeners, hey, I've kind of heard this stuff before. And look, I've heard this stuff too, but I always thought that it really was meant for someone else. That could work for Maria, or that can work for this person, but it wouldn't work for me, you know, until I got so tired of repeating the same mistakes and doing the same thing and not really getting a lot out of life. I said, okay, let me pretend for a moment that I'm exactly like everybody else and do every single step exactly as they say it. And then I'm like, okay, I am a lot like everybody else. You know? And like, look, I don't need any special rules. I could just follow the recipe and get results. Okay. You
know what? So my hubby, who, you know, he asked me, he's like, you know, he still doesn't understand a lot of my journey. And like when I talk about the universe and all of that, and he's like, I just don't get it. He's like, why do you keep going to the same seminars? They keep talking about the same things, which is true to exactly what you said, right? It's because you have to hear it so many times. And each time you hear the same thing, the more you grow, the more you get it, and you get it in a different way, right? So yeah, when you come to do Pilates, I will repeat the same cue to you thousands of times until you're like walking, you're like, I hear you in my head. You're like in my head all the time, you know, pull your shoulders down, pull your belly in. Like people were like, you sound in my head, in the background of my head. But it's exactly the same thing. You have to hear it. And like I had a client, she's been coming for 2 years, and she walks in, she goes, oh my gosh, I finally know what you're talking about. And she was referencing, it just clicked for her, right? I've been saying it for a couple of years, but she now got it. But
who was it? Was it Aristotle that said you can't stick your hand in the same water twice?
I don't know.
Okay, so you can't, because you're a different person. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, you are different 10 minutes from now than you are today. Now that may sound a little weird, but the truth is that, wait a second, there's a little bit different perspective that you have when you're experiencing that. Now, I kid you not, have I heard of this too shall pass before? Yeah, but it didn't hit me in the face then, because I was so blind in so many things. So it's like peeling back an onion. It's like, hey, I need to peel this back, get a little, and these little things matter. Like, and everybody has an opportunity at any moment to be able to be a little bit better. Okay, hey, where am I causing pain? Where am I causing pain to others? Or who can I forgive? And can I be truthful about this and be kind about that? Those are all opportunities for us to be better people.
To grow.
That's right. And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love this conversation, Jeremy. Look where we are sitting and the topic that we're discussing. Who would have believed that 10 years ago?
Not me. And look here, and I wouldn't believe you either. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, really, Maria, you really are a wonderful testament. I'm going to say, look, I got nothing but love for you. But type A,
just say, Jeremy.
Anal, I mean, type A, anal, shoes off, not a crumb of dust on the floor, things like that. And to be in the variability of this is like you really stepped through that in a way and grew in a way that is quite beautiful.
Thank you.
Really. And I love it. I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Vice versa. Very proud and excited that we're on this journey of life together as friends, and we can see each other grow and cheer each other and celebrate our progress.
That's right. And look, this is not, when we're better people, then the people around us are better too. And look, we spread our little seeds of goodness around because we're better people. And then that may make a difference into someone else's life. And that's our contribution to the universe,
Yep. See, there we go. You should talk to my hubby about the universe. Maybe he'll listen to you.
Yeah, maybe. But again, it's like the toleration, right? It's like everybody's got their path, and unfortunately, or maybe that's fortunately, we can't beat them over the head. I'm sure people tried to do that to me, and I was just hard headed, and then I got so tired of being like, maybe I'm not thinking about the right way. So maybe the way I'm going about my way, because I'm miserable, is absolutely not right.
It's a sign.
Right? That's right. I got so I'm Maria, I'm gonna say it this way. I got so sick of my own shit that I said I have to do something different. If I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fail in a different way. And so I was like, well, okay, let's giddy up. Let's find out what this is about. All right. Who knows how to live life in a different way? How can I be different in a different way? So I was like, that's what my quest was. I was like, before I absolutely chalk up life as this apathetic little ride, let's see what this thing's about. And that's when I went on a quest, and a quest to find out what the bottom of this thing is. And then guess what? They said, you need to address these demons here. You need to forgive these people and quit the blame. And hey, take responsibility for yourself. And like, really do I have to do that?
You know what? Facing the mirror is not an easy task. However, once you do it, your life changes. And you know what? Sadly, a lot of times what pushes us to change is that urgency of like, I can't take another day like that. The same thing that people who come in pain, some of them come because they have tried everything and they're like, I need to get out of this because I don't know what else to do, right? Yeah. But that's what causes us to be like, I'm open, like tell me, show me, teach me, because I can't do it this way anymore. So,
that's right. Hit bottom. But through things like this, like your podcast, it allows people, likely to seek change before their bottom is too bad.
Yeah. And that's the reason of it, right? To get people to think, to inspire them, to maybe get them to question something in their life, to say, maybe I should try that too, right? One step at a time.
Right. Hey, don't wait until your deathbed or real suffering to happen to make these changes. And just higher bottom, so to speak. Right. Where it wouldn't be as painful. That need to be. Although for me, I can be hard-headed. And so,
well, you know me and hard-headedness, right?
Man, but I tell you, That's why I say, man, you really are a testament to some serious growth.
I love it.
Yeah.
Jeremy, tell people where can they find you and follow you if they would like to connect.
All right. So I'm a certified financial planner and investment management analyst in Myrtle Beach, but got clients in all around the Southeast. They can look me up on Riverbend Wealth Management. And of course, they can email me too if they want at jeremy@riverbendwm.com.
Awesome. Jeremy, I so enjoyed this fun conversation with you. Thanks so much for the laughter and the insight. And I do hope we got to inspire somebody listening to maybe decide to take a chance on themselves and do a little bit of self-discovery. I wish you continued success, my friends. If you guys have any questions for Jeremy, please feel free to ask them. And meanwhile, don't forget to make it a rebellious day.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Jeremy. Can't get enough of those rebellious conversations? Do make sure you subscribe, like, and share with your friends.